You're listening to Q&A in the Kitchen Podcast Edition, episode number 18. This is the third part in our series with tattoo artist Sherry Sears of Creative Images. So let's join the conversation in progress with Jack, Wesley, DaVo, and of course Sherry.
It's a little harder because, it used to be, like you said, there was only two suppliers. They wouldn't sell stuff to you unless you knew somebody, unless somebody recommended you, unless somebody signed a piece of paper for you, unless somebody had to stand up for you in the tattoo world.
And that's just trying to protect the industry because there was enough bad going on.
You had to fax in a copy of your license to some of the companies.
Right. And so they were always like that, and so it was hard. People just Joe Blow couldn't get shit, Well, now,
Amazon.
thanks to Google and the internet and Amazon and all those wonderful things that we have now, any bonehead with $49.95 can go out and get him a starter kit from China wherever, you get a real fancy one where your machines look like little golden dragons and stuff.
I
can't believe how many people bring me those.
You buy that?
Uncle Joe died and he had these tattoo machines. No. Yeah, they're not worth shit.
No.
They're pretty, but they ain't worth shit.
Nope.
But anyway, but now anybody can buy machines. And technically you can go on YouTube and see some videos, and I've watched a few videos. Most of them were not near as informative as I was hoping because I was kind of looking for some help with some particular things, and what I found was a lot of high-speed shit that shows a really cool thing at the end but didn't really help me out much with what I needed.
Right.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah. That'll only get you so far.
Right?
I always cringe through the...
Oh, I know, and they're wiping those.
Trying to get the shine off so it looks good on camera.
And that fucking customer's going, stop wiping it.
Stop touching
See some of the ones that repeat on our TV that we're like, nope, can't watch this.
I cannot see this anymore.
I don't watch very much of that stuff, but it is kind of nice when, when new things like the watercolor thing comes along.
Yeah, right.
Well, now, Sherry's a drawer, not a painter. Sherry does not paint. I find painting very frustrating and annoying. I don't do that, unless we're just painting on the wall. But,
solid color.
But so these more artistic, painterly type things are not in my field of knowledge.
Right.
So, okay, there's YouTube. I go watch some videos about how people do this stuff, Well, it didn't help very much.
Right?
But it's nice to be able to do that these days, Something weird comes along, it's like, well, do you do this or do you do that? I'm sure I can, but come see me in a couple weeks.
But and
I can do that. Okay, got it.
But it's not. But it's not a replacement for tutelage from someone who knows what they're doing.
No, you're not.
It's good reference for someone like you said who there's something crazy new going on or whatever you want to see how other people approach it. Yep. But not necessarily the best.
They can't teach you how to put it in the skin. How that there's nothing like. Your master standing over you going,
prediction of
you fucking let up!
Right, right.
Yeah. You can't teach to predict that they're jumping and all the things that they do.
Well, and that's the thing, people always ask me, well, what do you think about fake skin? I think an orange is just as good. Fake skin's awful expensive.
Yeah, and
I've tried fake skin, and it's not like skin. It's harder to tattoo.
You got to bear
I think
down
it would
a lot
make you
more.
Heavy-handed and give you a feel for tattooing in a way that I wouldn't want to be tattooed like
Scraps
that.
of leather I found work a little bit better.
Yeah, leather's a little nicer.
You gotta dig into it if you want it deep, but it's good for practicing that light-handed technique because you can just barely graze that leather. And
the one I always hear is like, I got me a couple turkey legs and this and that, and it's like, why'd you ruin that food?
Right.
Because it's not the same sensation from what I understand. I've never tattooed anybody.
No, there's really no stand-in, and you got to consider too the big part. I mean, getting it to look right after it's done is pretty easy. Yeah. Even if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you can pound on that skin long enough to get enough of that color in from here to there. That's a good looking tattoo. Right. The trick is to get it to look good 2 weeks later.
Right.
So, that's not, that fake skin ain't going to have to heal. No. That turkey leg ain't going to heal. No. That leather ain't going to heal.
And I think a lot of tattooing is mechanics. Practice makes perfect. When I learned to tattoo, they said the deal was you had to draw 20 sheets of flesh. because that gives you hand-eye coordination. Now your hand knows what to do. You know, your brain sees it, your hand draws it. It knows what to do after you've done that. Okay, that's half the battle.
Right.
And I think there again, you have people trying to tattoo. They haven't drawn 20 sheets of flesh. Their hand does not know what to do. Their brain doesn't even know what to do.
Right.
You know, because they're just kind of winging it. Where, you know, if you've drawn all that flesh, you know when you're going to do a heart, your brain goes, okay, the heart is this. And your hand goes, I know how to do that, and your hand does it. Even though it's got a machine that's making it shake and all that stuff, and you don't know how deep, but you know how to make the line.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's half the battle, is you know where that line goes. And your hand's going to do that. And the other thing they told us was, it takes 100 tattoos before you even begin to get the hang of it.
Yeah, that's
You
very
know,
true.
it's 100 tattoos that were only this big. They're a quarter size. People are like, well, who do you practice on? Trust me. The line is long for people who will let you do a tattoo on them for nothing. It's amazing what they think you can do.
Yeah.
Well, I want to sleep from here to here. Like, otherwise I get 3 tattoos, right?
Right.
You know, fortunately, and there again,
Well, how hard can it be?
when you're working under somebody and they're helping train you, you tattoo them, which is very scary business. If you can get past that, working on other people is not so bad. And then you tattoo their tattoo junkies because they know you're going to fuck it up and it ain't going to be great, but they're willing to go through that for you.
Yeah.
That's right, because your master's going to fix it for free and make it okay with them.
That's right.
I know, I've done that too.
Yeah.
But you know, but that's how you get through a lot of tattoos. And there again, your brain and your hand already know what to do. And so it's just a matter of them getting used to the medium of the skin and the shaky machine and the needle.
Right.
Once they figure out that part, then you're golden and you're good to go. The rest of it's just art, you know.
So I guess in that regard, then tattooing fruit and turkey legs, that is going to help you, because half the battle is, and I don't know if you've done this with apprentices, but you know, a lot of times they'll get a coil type machine when these were really popular, and they put a pencil in it.
Right.
And you know, just to get the feel of that weight hanging off your hand.
It's top
you know,
heavy.
because like you said, you know, to make that motion with a pencil without that on the end is one thing, but to do it with that weight's another.
Right.
Well, then to do it with that weight on someone is another. So like you know, it's doing
and
it
there's
and
a
repeating
progression.
it. Right.
First you start out with the paper, and then you learn to use the machine as you do the oranges or the fake skin or whatever.
Right. So
we usually don't spend too much time on that, and we jump straight into the skin.
Right.
You know, there's got to be. Fortunately, I've always had various things that apprentices could work on.
Right.
Okay, you're gonna color in these 2 flowers. Which is why my flowers are all colored in various ways and colors and stuff, because they've been done various ways over the years.
And I think that's part of the fun thing of tattoos is that you know, it could be you know, a bunch of flowers that are all colored in the same dye by the same person, but they're not. Each one of those little flowers has a neat story and a neat little memory to it, which is half the fun part. I think
it's really sad though these days. Unfortunately, for people who want to get into the tattoo business, there are very few people left that are willing to teach.
Right,
you know?
because it's such a pain in the ass and nobody wants to put the work in.
Well, and that's the thing. It's a pain in
and
the
they've
ass.
been burned.
Yeah.
So,
Let's face it. I mean...
Well, yeah, we all get burnt, you know. You get people that don't turn out to be what you thought that they were, and this, that, and then it's hard to get rid of them. You know, because you got to be an asshole and fire people. Oh well.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, and
that's not fun. Nobody wants to be that guy.
It's not worth it. Yeah.
Well, I thought this person would really do something, but it turns out that they're not going to do anything, and so now I really just kind of need to get them moved out of here. You know, and that's sad. And unfortunately, I would love to teach somebody, but I can't get them to do the first thing. The first thing is draw me 20 sheets of flash.
Yeah.
And I've even lowered that down to 10. I'd be happy with 10.
Like with piercing,
I'd be happy with 10 sheets of flash.
With piercing, the last couple ones I've had contact me. I'm like, okay, here's what you need to do. You need to read this book, this book, this book. You need to go through my site. You need to read everything in it, and there's going to be a test. Come back in a month. Never seen
nobody.
Yep. No, they
it's
don't
just
want to
do
that.
the work, do the research. I mean, when I was starting out, when I was starting to get my inkling little idea that I wanted to do it, I was going to Iowa City to buy every copy of Piercing Fans Quarterly I could get my hands on. I was reading stuff about tattooing. I was reading medical books, anatomy books, everything I could find on it, so that when I actually did get into the situation where I could do it, I had a base knowledge.
Yeah. Right.
And it's like when kids ask me about tattooing, it's like you need to sit down and copy every style of anything, any type of drawing.
Well,
do
that's it.
comics, do fine art, do everything. You need to learn the mechanics. And Pearson's the same way.
It's
you
all
have
mechanics.
to learn the mechanics.
Right.
You have to do something 5, 10, 15 times. It varies from person to person to the point where where it's natural and normal. And then you get over the fear of all this other stuff. You go straight into, you got the fear, the anxiety, and the inability or understanding of what you're doing in the first place.
Right.
And that's not a new thing. If you go to art school, they're not going to start you out and go, hey, here's a 20 by 20 foot canvas.
Right. Yeah.
That's your final. Here's some paints. Go at it. They're going to sit there and make you copy master after master after master after master.
They don't give you $1 million race car and a helmet if you want to be a race car driver.
No,
Yeah.
you start out with a go-kart.
Exactly. And
You don't get the Camaro first.
No.
You get the go-kart first. Well, and it's the same thing. Yeah,
People
you have to
aren't
study. You know, which of course is what I always loved about tattooing because I love anthropology.
Yes.
I love the study of man. You know, well, tattooing is nothing but anthropology.
Right.
Cavemen did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can't find a body old enough that it isn't.
The oldest body had tattoos
They all
on
have
it.
tattoos.
Piercings.
All
piercings.
piercings. All cultures did these things all over the world. So it's interesting. It was fun to study Asian art. It was fun to study African art. It's fun to study old white people art in Europe. You know, it's fun to study all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and roll it in. But like you said, it's through study that you lose your fear and you gain excitement.
Exactly.
You know, because somebody comes in, they bring you in something, and it's like, I want this. And you're looking at it going, oh, fuck, I ain't never seen nothing that looked like that. What the fuck is this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's blah, 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 blah. Really? Well, that's kind of interesting. You just leave that with me. Come back in a few days. We'll do this.
Right.
And the excitement builds as you look into it. As I get on Google and look it up and go,
Yep.
huh? Really? Oh wow! Look at all. Well, now I know all kinds of shit. Now I'm excited to do this project. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, and if you're and I think they kind of in a way weed themselves out. When you say go learn this and come back, when you say do 20 sheets of flash and they don't come back, they didn't have it. You know, and ask anybody who's gone to college, 98% of it is just clearing out the people who don't really want it.
Yeah.
Right.
Most of what you learn and most of what they shove down your throat ain't gonna help you at all.
It don't matter.
But you know what it's gonna do? It's gonna get rid of 90% of the people that said they want it, but they're not willing to get
It's the
it.
weeding out
So
process.
it ain't necessarily even how well you do the 20 sheets.
No.
It ain't necessarily how well you do on the test.
No.
If you came back and said, I did it and I'm ready, and you really flunked it, shit, that would still be something because at least
because
you
tried.
You tried to do it, and holy shit, you might
gives-
have the interest of what it takes to actually do
It
it.
gives the person you're asking to teach you an idea of where they need to help you.
Exactly. Where you're
That's the
starting.
whole point of tests.
That's
We
the
have
whole
this
point.
misconception in Western culture that tests are all about pass or fail. It
Tests are
isn't.
mean.
It's supposed to come back until the teacher goes,
Yeah.
oh, well, he doesn't know the answer to this. How am I teaching? And evaluate themselves to be a better teacher.
Exactly.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, and
You're
people that aren't
exactly
even
right.
willing to do that, it's easy. And I think part of it is me. I think I've had bad experiences with them because I wasn't. I didn't see that they really didn't have it in them. I should have been able to give
You were
them
more hopeful.
right, and I guess. Yeah, I
And
don't.
sometimes we get tricked like that. I have
Yeah,
had the same experience, and I feel the same way because you're so hopeful, and it's hard to say these things sometimes, but we all learn differently.
Oh, yeah.
And I was probably 40 years old before it dawned on me that not everybody learns the way I learn.
Right.
I learn very
That can be
quickly and very
frustrating.
easily. I can watch you do something, and I've learned it.
Right.
I can do it a couple of times, and I can probably do it.
Yep. Yep.
Not everybody learns that easily.
Mm-hmm.
Some people
Or that way.
Some people learn very differently. And so now that I'm older, I can recognize that. But it's harder in years past because I expected people to
think
learn
like
the
you
way
did.
that I learned.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is how they taught me, and that's how I'm teaching you, and you just need to fucking learn it, and let's
Yeah.
do it.
Right.
Well, apparently that didn't work.
Yeah.
So,
Being a teacher is not easy.
Yeah, no, it's not.
And
I'm terrible at it.
And at least
know?
you had a starting off point of someone setting you down and going, okay, Sherry, this is what you do, this is how you do it. I had none of it.
Right.
I had zero. I had Huck Spalding, and I had their Fuck a Buddy Up special number 2 with the tattoo artist T-shirt that I got for free with it.
With your order, you betcha.
And I had people willing to let me on them,
God bless Huck Spalding, and I've heard more than one person
Look right
say
behind
that.
David.
Yeah, that's the Huck
Because-
Spalding A to Z right there
Right?
behind you.
Yep.
Because, lots of people, that's how they did it. But there again, you are willing to put forth the effort.
Yeah.
You know, and you're going to find out, what do they think I need to do? What do they say, you know, in these books, in these magazines, whatever I can find. Yeah, A to Z is a great one, too.
It is.
I had that one, too.
Yeah.
And, and they're all fun.
File that barb
But
off that needle.
I want to get the toothbrush cleaning the needle tattoo.
But, you know, I like the part where they draw the name and then they put the banner around it.
Yeah, right.
The banner and making the name
Right.
the banner.
Yeah, a little easier that way.
Backwards of what they taught me, but you know, but yeah, but no, like
Start
Miss
somewhere.
Molly, who came to work with me, she had learned the technical stuff. She could set the machines up. She knew the health department things about what you touch and don't touch and that sort of thing. She had learned all the technical stuff. She already was well established as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
She went to art school. She paints. She does all kinds of art things. She's very artsy,
Right.
you know, kind of person. But she came with virtually no experience. You know, she'd only done a handful of tattoos at best on a couple of friends, you know, and that's fine. Well, her teacher was gone and she didn't have that person in her life anymore. And so she came to me and I'm like, fuck, if all you need is experience, we can do that. And so, yeah, and same thing. Those first 100 tattoos were very tedious, you know, and she did a lot of tattoo junkies who were like, oh, you got a new girl, huh? Well, I got a little piece of skin here. She can do a little whatever there. And, of course, she's like, oh, my God, it's Sherry's big-ass hairy bikers. You know? But she kept at it.
Yeah.
And she got better, and she studied. You know, when she wasn't busy tattooing, she was standing over my shoulder watching what I was
Nothing
doing
I
and
like to
asking
see
me
an apprentice
questions.
do more than that.
And, you know, I couldn't have been more proud of her, too. And she worked, and she studied, and she has since, you know, she's been with me for years now, and she's developed a real style of her own. I didn't expect her to be a little Sherry and do what Sherry does. Sherry does what Sherry does. That's enough.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so, yeah, Molly does what Molly does, and Molly does it great. And sometimes people come,
great.
I want this. Like, yeah, you need to talk to Molly.
Sure. Yeah, that's a sign of a good artist.
And that's nice. Yeah, it's nice to have that, you know. I worked alone most of my life because I'm not the easiest person to get along with. I have very high standards, and I'm kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
But, you know, it goes with the territory.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and it's nice to actually have somebody to work with, you know, that
Right.
doesn't drive you crazy, that holds up their end of the deal,
Yeah.
and that you can respect and admire for their own contribution,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
and that's nice to have.
This is
And we need more people like that in the world,
no
especially
shit.
in tattooing.
No kidding.
So,
And
Yeah.
piercing.
and piercing. Let's not leave the piercers
Yeah.
out. Because piercing's its own art. And I have to admit, when my customers come in, I had one in the other day. He has all kinds of wackadaisy things going on in his ear and stuff. And I always find it so interesting. So it's like, I love piercing. I love to look at it. I don't like to have it. My body doesn't like it. We tried that a little bit. My body's like, I'm not wild about that.
Yeah.
And so it's okay. But I love piercing on other people.
Yeah.
And I love the weird things that they do now where they can bend things and run them in and out of the ear in weird directions and stuff. And I like that sort of thing. So
It's advanced a lot.
I know it is. It's fun.
Yeah,
It's fun.
And I think it's advanced faster than tattooing did, just basically because it started its modern up-push right when the internet started to become a thing.
Right.
Like, I spent a lot of time on rec art, body art, learning tons of stuff, and how to talk to people and how to diagnose problems that I never learned from the guy that I supposedly apprenticed under.
Right. But don't you think that...
He just didn't know what he was doing, I don't think. He was a good guy. It was a good start. It got me in the door.
It got you going.
But it was too short and too quick. And
Well, and I think that's always the case, though. Sometimes you just don't have as much opportunity. You know, my own apprenticeship was that way, too. It was short, and there was a lot of gaping holes in it, you know, which I didn't realize at the time until later when he wasn't around and I didn't know something. I'm like, oh, I probably should know that. Fortunately, I was lucky enough to meet a couple other people that helped fill in the holes, and they were nice enough to
And so
be nice.
with me, it was the internet. It was the fact that my first apprentice
But
was
do you
an
think that
RN
in the early days of piercing that a lot of the, you know, the people that were kind of heavy into body modification in the early beginnings of piercing and stuff, I think a lot of them, though, were very concerned about the health of the piercee.
Yeah.
I think they really wanted to make sure that things were good and healthy and that people weren't getting hurt and making it bad for their business.
Yeah, and it's translated into this the street shop mentality of whatever we put in there is going to heal. Which it's like I just did a video on aftercare, one of my long-winded videos, which you can see on this channel. And one of the things I started off, I'm like, you can do absolutely nothing to a piercing. If you give it enough time, you give it your body enough time, it will always produce that tunnel of tissue around that jewelry. Now, is it not going to get infected while it's happening? No. Is it not going to heal weird or migrate or do something?
Probably.
No. You're going to see red bumps at some point? Probably. But you may see those things even if you take care of it. At the beginning, it was very open with that information. Mm-hmm. Now it's kind of turned into this, well, you belong to this association and we're here. Our whole motto is education. Send us a check, a video of everything that makes sure that you're doing what we think you should do. Even if it's not cost effective. Like, sterile gloves. Mm-hmm. And then we will go on high to our mountain and decide whether or not you're worthy of our information. When I first started, it wasn't like that, and the people that started that organization were not like that. They were sharing this information online
as they should.
Nonstop,
as they should to benefit the health and wealth of the whole industry. But again, money,
and it just basically this idea that they could have took two routes. It's either, it's the whole thing where, what's more dangerous, a lot of information or a little bit of information in the wrong hands.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a middle of the road. But yeah, I think that the focus was, and I still am that way. It's like, here's my best option of healing this out.
Right.
And I do ask questions about their health. I'm not going to do you if you're diabetic. And if you say you're diabetic, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to ask you if you've ever talked to your doctor about it. Mm-hmm. And if you have some type of communicable disease, then I'm going to talk about that. And having this idea. But, at the very beginning, it was very, aftercare especially, was very intrusive, very, very harsh. Betadine and Hibiclins and these extremely starting soaps. It took for a long time for my nipples to heal. And the reason why they took so long to heal is twice a day I was cleaning them with betadine, and that was what we knew to do.
Right.
So mine has always been education.
Right.
I want my client from the minute they walk in the door until they leave to either go, oh my God, will he ever shut up?
Right.
Or walk out and go, oh my God, I learned so much in that 20 minutes that I was here that I've been to 5 other people and who are supposedly the best, and nobody ever told me any of this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed at what people won't tell people, Yeah. You get new customers in and, you tattoo them, and I always ask them, what do you usually use on your tattoos while you're healing them? And then they look at you funny, and they're like, well, what do you mean?
The last guy didn't say anything.
What do you mean? Yeah. What do you mean? You got tattoos on you. What do you use on them? And and it's amazing how many people send their customers out the door with no instructions.
Wow.
Of course, I don't always believe everything the customer tells me either, because they could have got written instructions in a half-hour lecture, and it's out the window. And they're like, oh no, he didn't say anything.
It's like and when they come back with the problem, it's like they're in the principal's office.
Right.
They think you're going to somehow okay, that's 2 weeks of detention, young man.
Right. Like we're somehow going to be
you're going to be eating lunch in my office from now on. Instead of just coming up and going, I screwed up. I fell in the lake. My friend pushed me in there. We were really drunk, and now I think it's infected. Then I'm going to go, go see a doctor.
Right.
Get some antibiotics. Get it taken care of.
Yeah, people are funny.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with tattooing. I think you guys have experienced it. They come in and it's like there's a giant hole in the tattoo right here. Did you pick at that? No, it just fell off on its own.
Yeah. I had a guy named, I won't name him, but that's a perfect example. I did back in the day when Old English was really popular. I did some Old English lettering on his form. He came back in a few weeks later, and one or a couple of letters or whatever had some spots. And so I'm gloving up. I'm getting ready to fix it up for him. And I go, so what are you picking at your tattoos for? And he goes, what? What are you talking about? And I'm like, fuck off. I know you fucking picked at it. He's like, I swear to God, I didn't pick at it, dude. I didn't. Up and down, up and down. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I fixed it up. So it was down the road, maybe a month or whatever. He comes in, he's getting something else, and I'm tattooing on him, and a little silence goes by, and he goes, man, he's kind of laughing. I go, what? He goes, I can't fucking believe you knew I picked at that tattoo. I go, you motherfucker, I knew you did. I knew you were lying.
I could tell.
did, but yeah, it's you think you're talking to.
I did a little 18-year-old one time, and the little girly tattoo, and she calls me up like 4 days later. She's like, my tattoo's fading. And I'm thinking, well, it's only 4 days old, so that's pretty much impossible, but bring it on in. I'll take a look at it. And she comes in, and I look at her, I'm like, well, you went swimming.
Yeah.
Well, how do you know? Because I can tell.
Because I know.
Because I know. You went swimming, and I can't fix how you fucked that up. You got to let it heal up. We'll doctor it up, but it's never going to look like it did 4 days ago. Sorry.
That's why we say don't do that.
Well, I said, didn't I tell you not to go swimming? Well, yeah, but my boyfriend said... I said, is your boyfriend a professional tattoo artist? Did you pay him money to put this tattoo on?
Now he can pay for me to fix it.
No, that's what I said.
There you go.
You better hit him up for money for the touch-up, because I ain't doing it for free.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, well, I went home and I looked it up on the internet because I didn't believe you because you've had all these years of experience.
Right.
And you deal with this every day and you're a professional. But I looked it up on the internet and 28 people gave me 28 different answers on Facebook, and I chose the easiest route I possibly could to allow me to do what I wanted to do, which was go swimming.
In the first place, yeah,
exactly.
Swimming. Yeah.
I dug long enough, and someone said it was cool, so I don't know why this happened.
There again, modern inks. Back to modern inks. I think modern inks hold up better to people's abuse than the old inks do.
I think you're right,
I
too.
think they go in the skin much easier.
Yeah.
They scab a lot less. They heal easier. The colors are nice and bright.
Don't you think that's part of the machine being a lot more efficient in that, especially these direct drive rotaries, where you're not getting that bouncing needle on the skin that's not making this consistent puncture every time, so you're kind of beating up all levels of the skin while you're adjusting maybe your hand and that spring is kind of flopping and bouncing, where a direct drive machine, it's going down the exact same length and it's coming up the exact same length every time, so each hole you're making more use of. You're not kind of having these more random kind of bouncy machines. So I think that gives you a lot quicker heals, a lot quicker, better saturation. You're getting more use out of each hole instead of this somewhat random pressure you're getting from this.
And I think your magnum needles help with that too, as opposed to flat needles.
Absolutely.
And also, back to disposable tubes, plastic tubes wear a lot less. You know, those stainless steel needles on those stainless steel tubes will rub each other flat. Right. And so, and that can happen during the course of a tattoo. And so, sometimes you're finishing out with, less than great equipment. And there again, inexperienced people would not think to stop and change out, going, okay, this needs to be changed out because it's too wore. Right. And so on and so forth. But I think a lot of it also is just technology. The tech weenies are doing their job. Just like the guys that like to build machines, well, there's people that like to build ink. Yeah. And we went through a spell, as you know, in the 90s, where everybody and their brother was making ink. And not all of it had shit in it that was supposed to be in it. Right. And there was some issues, and there was some problems, and I think the feds had to step in and go, okay, we're not going to monitor this too much, but there needs to be, you guys need to back this off. And so now, for the most part, I think most of our inks that are available are pretty decent.
They're practically a lot. I know that most of the inks probably all the inks I use are even vegan.
Well, yeah, a lot of them are vegan. I know ours, the stuff we use, because, Miss Molly's into all that stuff, so I just kind of take her lead. I let her do the homework, and I just take her lead on it. Like, this is the shit. Okay, whatever. Yeah. I mean, I still use certain things that I like, but I've given up some of that stuff because some things are just not available that were available 30 years ago. It's like, it was tried and true for a million years, but it's just not available anymore. They just don't.
And some part of, I think, the ink thing was what was available at that time.
Sure.
There was a very limited supply of stuff. Yeah. The same thing with piercing. The reason why we use different jewelry than we did back then is because we didn't have access to this jewelry. Right. Because there was 4 manufacturers. Right. Yeah. So it's like, as the industry progressed, yes, there's been more crappy jewelry.
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of that. We get fires for that every day.
There's also more of that middle of the ground and high-end than there was ever before. And there's access to it at an affordable rate instead of gauntlet prices.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old gauntlet.
Oh, gee.
I think the internet expanded our choices so much more than those catalogs that, you only had 2 or 3 different manufacturers or suppliers to order stuff through a catalog, and now you can go on the internet and you can find high-end equipment and low-end equipment and everything
Spend
in
all the
between.
money.
But you gotta watch out because they're out there trying to screw you too. You know they're promise you the moon and not
They
deliver.
see that
You gotta
industry.
know.
It's $1 billion+ industry a year, so there's always going to be those people trying to snip
I think the
it off.
starter kits just cracked me up.
Yeah.
That's how I started.
There used to be in the back of the magazines back in the 80s, back in the days. In the back of the tattoo magazines and stuff, it was tattoo kit. And it was like $29.95, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Two or three, and they call them points, you know. 2 or 3 points and 5 colors or whatever. So I know this is bullshit, but I just got to see one. So, I send off my fucking $29.95, and here it comes, and it's in this little blue box, and you open it up, and it's a tool that they use for tools. It usually has a scribe or a scrawl, or you can put a little tiny screwdriver in it. Yeah, it's it unscrews and it's just a thing, and they have the little needle points that go in it, so it's for hand poking. It's a hand poke. It's a really nice hand poke setup with some really crappy needles because I looked at them under the eye loop. They were super crappy.
Yeah.
And then you have these little teeny tiny bottles of ink, which is just some sort of India ink or watercolor or something from the art store.
Oh my God.
A little folded up piece of paper with some designs on it. And this was your tattoo starter kit. And I thought, this is brilliant because there's $3 worth of stuff.
Yeah, totally.
And none of it you could really get in trouble with. And I thought, and this guy's selling these all day long.
Oh, yeah.
On the back of this
it's
magazine.
it's like basically a step above a needle and thread.
Oh, man. Yeah. I've thought about doing that because it's like, wow, this would be so great. You just sell tattoo kits for $20 all day long. Just send them on out. Let them bitch.
Or just a box with referrals to tattoo artists in their area.
Right. Yeah, there you go. That'd be awesome. Oh, yeah. Well, shit. What do you think? I think
this one's pretty long.
I think we should.
You might be able to make 2 shows out of it.
Oh, well, maybe 3. But I would love for you to come back sometime too. I had a good. This was awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day.
This is awesome.
And coming and it was way more
fun. It was fun to talk to everybody.
Yeah, way more fun and easy. So where is your shop and when are you there?
We are now located at 2649 Beaver Avenue. We are in the parking lot with the Ace Hardware store. I am usually there on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from noon to 7, more or less.
Okay.
It's a nice day and I'm out doing something more fun than working.
Right, yeah, and it's getting warmer. So if they want a Sherry tattoo, what's the best way to start the ball?
Generally, you need to come to the tattoo shop.
Yep, best way just
I like
come
to talk
in
to people in person, talking on the phone. I got to see you. I got to see your projects.
Right.
I just like to talk to people in person.
Cool.
Right now, we are we schedule appointments. Usually, we have appointment days, and we schedule appointments for like 3 months, so that I can spend my time working and not dicking around with appointments.
Yep.
But I like to talk to people anytime. I'm always happy to help you with your projects.
Cool.
Or happy to point you to somebody else that can help you with your projects.
Nice.
Very cool. I don't want to do everything.
Yeah, awesome. Well, don't forget to check out Death Before Decaf Coffee. We've been enjoying it the entire time, getting all amped up. You can find them everywhere from Instagram to Facebook and all that stuff in between. If you like flavored coffees, man, it is the bomb.
Yeah, today we've been drinking the Dude.
The Dude?
The Dude was good.
Which is
Love the Bean.
Love the Bean. Flick the Bean.
I think that was what it was. I don't know.
I think that sounds right. Don't we
Click
usually
that website?
Usually he'll put up a logo or something,
Yeah.
and also we'll be putting up some pictures of her work, so give you an idea of what this crazy lady can do. I got my very first professional tattoo by her. It's right there.
Same.
You can still count the fucking teeth in it. I swear to God,
That's
awesome.
That's that single needle torture there.
Oh, dude, and we'll include a picture so you guys see it good, and I'll get it nice and lubed up.
Yeah, she did my first one. Then
if you don't,
and then the second one was, or technically the second one. I don't count this. This is one tattoo.
Right?
And then my sleeve.
It's all one tattoo.
Yeah.
Right, eventually, when they say how many, it's like, I got one arm tattoo, 2 arm tattoo.
When I started just going, I don't know, we've got about maybe 7-8 hours. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't count the.
It gets almost easier when you run into that.
Yep.
So don't forget to check her out and
You guys
get a Sherry
have a
tattoo.
Facebook page, right?
We are on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have some
I'll put links
Facebook,
to
and we have
that, too.
pictures. So
Yeah.
Miss Molly posts a lot more stuff than I do.
Right.
But my New Year's resolution was to post more, so
Right.
watch out for that.
It's like, all the time, it just occurred to me, all the time that we kind of save on the technical side, building needles and all this stuff, is kind of replaced by keeping up on social media to stay somewhat relevant in the sea of everything. So
I like social media, though. I like people can message us through the Facebook
Right,
and stuff,
yeah.
and I really like being able to interact with people, because sometimes I give them a question,
yeah.
and I don't need to see them in person to answer that question, and that's
Crazy
fine.
how far social media has come that you pretty much have to have somebody whose position in your company is to handle
Just to
of
do
that.
it,
I
yeah.
have a page
That's
manager
nice.
on my phone that does that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
my
nice.
page man. I love my page manager because it's like, hey, somebody wants to talk to you. Okay, I can talk to them, and
Yeah.
it's nice. It handles everything well, and it's a good. I like social media.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But yeah,
it's a lot. You got to kind of pick and choose. Like,
Yeah.
who's got time for all of it?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
I always like that when they're like, well, we're on da 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 da, and it's like, oh, West.
Right?
Yeah,
One or
those
two
are the
is enough.
people that have a guy.
Don't
you know?
message me through Google Hangouts.
Yeah, right.
I don't think that's going to last much longer. So that's it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. This will probably get cut up into two.
least.
Remember our podcast, if you'd like to just listen to our beautiful voices, you can find that on
Wherever you get good podcasts, we're there.
podcaster hosts. Also, make sure to like the video and let us know that you enjoyed it. And please subscribe. We post these every other Sunday, and we do the video version, then we do the podcast version. Till next time, have fun, and we'll see if your tattooing and body piercing needs in the future.
Thanks, guys.
You have been listening to Q&A in the Kitchen, recorded live at the Skin Kitchen Tattoo, located in Des Moines, Iowa. Those on the panel were DaVo from the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, Jack Lowe from Skin Kitchen Tattoo, and Wesley Dickerson from the Skin Kitchen. If you'd like to see further episodes, please stay tuned. We'll be posting more in the future, and do subscribe. If you would like to watch the video version of this, go over to our YouTube channel. We post these every other Sundays. You can subscribe there and not miss one episode. So, till next time, have a good day and happy piercing and tattooing. And if you're in the Des Moines area, we all hope to see you for your tattooing and piercing needs in the future.